Y'all know that's Thoughtful Thursday, right? Let's get into this, man.
I'm stronger than a locomotive, yeah. That old saying is true. But I can't understand sometimes, baby, why I'm so weak for you. Listen, I can leap tall buildings in a single bound. When it come to getting over you, baby, well, I can't get off the ground. But they call me the Superman lover, yeah. Say they call me the Superman lover, yeah. But something wrong with me this evening. Something wrong, yeah, yes it is. Faster than a speeding bullet. I've outflown a few, yes I have. But I must be flying awful slow sometimes, baby. I can't keep up with you. I got X-ray vision, and I can see through steel too, baby. I know it's something wrong with me, 'cause I can't see through you.
YouTube. Facebook, affiliated streets. What's going on with y'all on this Thoughtful Thursday? I figure we got to do something consistent for Thursday, man. Usually we doing something on the Hood Postman, man. But we have to double that up, man, because I got to make sure I get to y'all at least 5 days a week. At least. We're reeling. We in a lot of pain as a community, man. So somebody got to deliver the anesthesia, man, to get us out of that pain. You know what I mean? It's hard to function through a lot of pain, right? Well, the first order of business when you come in the hospital and in trauma, right, is to get the pain out the way, right? So we can get to the problem. First the pain, then the problem. Got that? You know, I ain't trying to, say I'm a doctor or nothing, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, that's a method, a medical method, treatment, triage, right? Get the pain down, treat the pain, get the person out of pain, and then get to the problem, right? Basically, pain is the first problem. We in a lot of pain, y'all. So I'll put the title, right? That's Graveyard Tea, Sweetened with Early Death. I don't know how far a lot of y'all go back, right? But my step pops, man, used to always say that. And it was like he was threatening you. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you about to die. Pops used to say, yeah, that's Graveyard Tea, Sweetened with Early Death. You going to die early playing with me, in other words, right? That's how I took it. Now, if I'm wrong about my interpretation, and some of y'all who go back a little further than me, Pops was one of them Alabama brothers in between Selma and Mount Montgomery and all that back in the days, man. I remember his son was unalived in some kind of store robbery, and he had to go bury his son back in the 70s, and the pain he was in, man. You know, I learned a lot of things from my step pops, man. Two different types of teaching from my father, my biological father in Watts, and my step pops who was in Riverside with my mother. Lot of things, lessons that I learned from both of them, right? My pops, my biological father was real smooth, man. Real smooth. Let me see something. I need to pull something up and let y'all see. I showed y'all pops, right? It's a long time ago. I showed y'all pictures of pops. But, nah, that's not it. Let me see. Wow, that's YouTube, huh? That ain't what I'm looking for. But I showed y'all pops. There you go. Let me see if I can bring pops in here, man. Try to get him up, man, just so y'all can see, man. We was them ones. This album still selling on now it's selling on Amazon. Come on, man, them my royalties. What y'all doing? Y'all stealing? I don't want a Prime membership. Hell with Prime. I don't want no Amazon Prime membership. Y'all stealing. They stealing Amazon Prime, y'all. Y'all be careful. They robbed your brother. But no, so while I'm pulling this up, man, you know, my Watts life, and I talked about my Watts life, man, was formidable. It developed me to the point that I would be able to go forward and handle a lot of adversity, right? I attribute the origin of that to my Watts life experiences. Under Philip Day, as a little brother who made a deal with my sister that it was his girlfriend to never let me get caught up in all that stuff that was going on in Great, man. And he was faithful to his oath with my sister. And as a direct result, I was not allowed to get off the porch until I left Watts. You know? They only dealing with blackout. Let's do that. Let's do that. They got him in here. Oh, they doing it all in different languages and stuff, man. They got pops up in there deep. He made it to Wikipedia. Julian Assange. What happened to Julian Assange, y'all? The Wikipedia boy. I ain't heard nothing about him. They probably done, you know, they was trying to put my man down. Last I heard, you know. That's YouTube. That's his song. I don't want to play his song. Anyway, Fastidious, y'all, was Pops, man. He had, he did plenty of music in his day. And the internet's tripping right now, y'all. Oh, there we go. I can show y'all that. Yeah, I can show y'all that. Hold on one second. Let me show y'all something. This is Pops' album right here. This is me right here. I'm a junior. Right? And you could go listen to Pops. Pops was a saxophonist. He was in the paint too. Like he was really in the paint with that saxophone, man. I don't think he had the right deals, the right business savvy, but I never seen my father work for nobody in my life, right? He had by the time I hit the scene, he was working with my grandpops who lived on 97th and Grandy. Right off the tracks right there. He had a house right there with three like little houses in front of the big house in the back. And my grandfather had bread, y'all. He was doing something. He was getting bread, right? Marshall Theus. Then my big uncle was the original Crip, ran with Tookie and Raymond in them, but I can't figure out what his pseudonym was. What did they call him in the streets? I don't know. I still don't know that. They didn't call him Marshall Theus, but that was his name. Watts dude, man. Original Crip dude, man. But when I hit the scene and I start coming to Watts from Riverside, right? Pops was he owned ice cream trucks. Like he had his own ice cream truck business. he would let me get rid of that. I can't get rid of that ad. Let me get rid of that. So I just wanted to show y'all that album. You could get that Blackout. It was a popular album back in, I think, 70, 71. Let me see. Let me put this back and take this back. Okay. Yeah, so, but it was a dynamic. I never seen Pops work for anybody. Like I said, he was a do-for-self brother. You know what I mean? Pops was doing, I seen Pops do $800 and $1,000, and we would sit down and count money when we would go out and work on the ice cream truck. I used to see in some summers, man, Pops would be bringing home $800,000, and this was in the early '70s. He owned his house, he owned his car, but what was killing him, man, that diabetes was tearing Pop's ass up, man. You smoked him more cigarettes. They say back in the days, he used to blow weed and drink a little bit because he was in the chitlin circuit with the music, right? But by the time I hit the scene, man, he had no energy. Pops didn't have no energy. That stuff was tearing him down. And he ultimately transitioned. Listen, man, some kind of gangrene got in his foot or something like that. And then they had to start amputating on him. Because gangrene and then poor circulation with the cigarette game and all that, it was tragic, bro. And then we fell out. So I was insensitive to all of these experiences because we fell out. You know what I mean? Don't fall out with your fathers, y'all. Or your mothers. Don't do that. That part where it says, you're not here to judge your parents. That's a real thing, man. Don't do that. You miss so much when you do that. They have so much to offer you just by observation. If you're impartial and, unbiased against them, they can offer you information and just studying their life. It took me a long time to get back to the lesson of what I learned from my father. It took me a long time because I had totally dismissed him. Right? So don't do that. Don't judge your parents, y'all. Even as we mature. Right? Some of us have made that same mistake, judged our parents, and you ain't this and you ain't that. Come on, man. Don't judge them, man. Study them. Learn from them. What it is that you can learn, and then take that lesson and keep moving. Life is a lesson. Every day, if you ain't learning, you ain't living. Right? You should learn something every day. Really. Don't be stifled or stagnated in such a way that you don't learn something beneficial to you every day. It's an opportunity to learn. Why don't take it? Why you won't take it? Right? Some of us get so overwhelmed and, the white man's grind and the job he got for you and stuff, you stop learning. You stop growing. You settle on working for him. Anyway, you always hear me talking about that because I don't like that shit. That's why y'all hear me talking about that. I don't like that shit. Right? But Thoughtful Thursday, man. Graveyard tea sweetened with early death, man. I think we have that attitude against each other in gang culture commonly. The graveyard tea sweetened with early death. Right? You could get it. Right? Don't catch this. Right? That's our attitude towards each other. We don't really think like that across any other real line other than, our Mexican brothers who are also tripping, but they are brothers. They tripping though. I've been there. They tripping. The Mexican community is tripping. We common. We got a common struggle. Y'all are brothers. Y'all come up out of us. I said that. Everybody come up out of the black man. Don't do that. Black is first. If you here and you not black, you second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Not an indictment, because it takes peopling of the earth to make the earth what it is. God said, I gave you your hues and colors and your differences so you could study the wisdom in that which you differ. It's wisdom in a difference. Right? Be wise. That was Wednesday. Right? What's that about? Okay. But I think that's our general attitude on each other, man. Graveyard tea sweetened with early death. What we going to do about that? What we going to do about that? I want to get back into a part of the conversation I'm having in gang culture that suggests that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There's an idea, a conversation being had in the culture, right? You ain't gotta be dirty and messy and start pointing people out and saying no names, but there is a conversation happening in gang culture, right? That's how I'm gonna say it, right? That there is no light at the end of the tunnel of being a gang member, being a gang enforcer, being a gang leader. They saying there ain't no light at the end of the tunnel, y'all. The dry bones in the valley, right, are saying all hope is lost. You remember that? Where my Bible thumpers at, right? We are the dry bones in the valley, y'all. But what happened? Think about what happened. See, because we're lost, right? We're not on course. What's going to happen is that what we're doing is going to be used to serve an end, be it good or bad. It's going to be used to serve an end, right? But it ain't going to be used for it's not being used for the conscious purpose of serving a particular end. So it looks destitute. It looks like it's a situation where we're just lost. All hope is lost. Right? But the winds began to blow on the bones. You remember that? That wind? The wind, I don't want to misquote the minister, so I won't say I got it from him. I'll get the exact quote from the minister and then I'll give it to you. But let me paraphrase my understanding of what that is, right? The winds are circumstances, right, that put you in greater difficulty, right? And in being put into greater difficulty, the winds blew on the bones, right? That means greater difficulty got put on the circumstances of gang culture for our purposes in being related to the dry bones in the valley, right? These things have to be interpreted. You can't take a literal translation of these things and apply them because literally they don't apply. Dry bones ain't finna do shit. And if you believe that, then you mystify, like you spooked out. Ain't no dry bones finna get up and do nothing. Like you throw chicken bones away and you throw beef bones away and hopefully you ain't what's that called? I forgot the damn word of it. What's where people eat each other? I forget the damn name of that. It's so crazy, right? You ain't that. I mean, we ain't that, right? But cannibalizing. So we not cannibals. So we ain't never really seen, but we've seen dead bones of people, like skeletons and dead bones. I've seen dead bones and seen dead cow heads, and I held cow heads that, the bone and clowning and all that kind of stuff. It couldn't do shit to me though. When I grabbed that bone, it couldn't do nothing. It was dead. There was no life in it. Right? We are dead in a sense because you got to look at what death is. Death is not just being physically buried 6 feet in the ground. There's other ways to be dead. Funkadelic, I think it was Funkadelic that said, if you ain't gonna get it on, take your dead ass home, right? You remember that? But you was alive physically though, but your ass was dead in the party, right? You ain't talking to nobody, you ain't doing nothing, you wallflowering, you sitting down, you drinking all the drink, but you ain't contributing nothing, you dead. Get your dead ass out of here. right? You're non-productive. You're not a non-contributor, right? You don't do anything. That's a form of death, right? But it's not a literal death that we're talking about when we talk about the dry bones in the valley. That's not literal, right? That has to be translated, right? And that has to be interpreted, right? And you get the proper interpretation of that, and you can find yourself in that as a part of gang culture, which could be considered to be dry bones in the valley. And what happens to the dry bones in the valley? This is the question. It's a beautiful thing that happens to the dry bones in the valley. This is why my argument is I'm becoming more intent, right? More convinced that you're wrong when you say gang banging was for no purpose. I disagree. I'm being painted into a corner with that. I could be pulled out. I can be egressed. I don't overcommit, right? But at this point, my focus is saying, man, y'all don't understand what the purpose for going through gang banging was. Because if you look at it as us being dry bones in the valley, right? When the winds began to blow on the dry bones, meaning the circumstances, the difficulty began to increase on the dry bones, they stood up. What? An exceedingly great army. Think about that, man. One thing you got to always think about and give credit to the original homeboys for, right? Original in every set, man. Think about this, man. Them dudes was fearless. If they had any fear in them, you didn't know it. They pushed a fearless line. That was the thing. All of the founders, all of the originators, the G homies, right? They was line pushers, y'all. They was violent. They was fearless. And that was the impression that they put out there. Homie, ain't no fear in this. It was a time for that. That was the core part of the training to become a member of a gang. You got to be fearless. You got to, your initiations in sometimes, right? You gotta in Wasi used to be the court on, the jump on, right? You gotta fight your way into this. You ain't just walking on. You gotta fight on. What is that saying? We going to war. We preparing warriors. You always, if only to that extent, how important is it that you be fearless in a world that is focused on, determined to instill fear in you as a people? How important is it that you have a training that makes you fearless? There's some misfortune in it. That's all. I mean, look, man. In a dojo, when you training, man, sometimes you're gonna break a leg. You might get broke up in the dojo. Wasn't intended for you to get broke up in the dojo, but it's part of the training. That training teaches you how to fight through pain. How to come out on the other side of the pain victorious. How to endure pain and deliver the necessary or requisite response to win in battle. Think about that, y'all. That's what, when you see Raymond Washington, when you see Tookie, Mac Thomas, right, on that line of homeboys, It's other ones, man. Our homie, No Brain. When you see homies like that, right? The G's, BJ, TS, you're looking at fearlessness, man. They'll tell you in a New York minute, come around here with that punk shit, man. This ain't no place for no punk shit. That was the line. They pushed it. They brought up a generation of killers, man. Listen, man. It was the business, right? It became being with the business, right? That's what we called it, the business. The misfortune in that. Let me say, the misfortune is that the effort is being applied within our borders. I say this all the time. It's entering the scene because it doesn't go outside of a border to anybody else. It's within our own borders that we're dealing with all of these conflicts and this training on fearlessness. And we're not using it as training. We're using it as being. We're not using it. At this point, if you start a business model, right? You start a business and we with the business. Let's talk about being with the business, right? When you start a business, there's the consideration of what type of business you're going to go into, what type of entity you're going to start to run that business, right? There's projections, there's assessments, there's analysis that goes into a business thought. You may get into a conversation with somebody else who's related to that business, get some information. So what you're going to do after that is you're going to write a business plan, right? I'm starting a restaurant. Hold on, y'all. I think I'm hearing my door. Hold on one second. Excuse me, y'all. So you're about to write a business plan, right? If you're doing a restaurant, for example, right? You're going to talk about how many spoons and forks and knives and plates and pots and pans and ovens and the things that you have to do to make food, right? And to serve people at the tables. You need tables. You need different seats, chairs. You need an ambiance. You got to paint walls. All of these things are in the consideration of your business plan. How much is it going to cost? What is your daily food projection to be, right? And then as you get into the business, you're going to have to adjust what the plan was, right? You got to come back and make adjustments to what the plan was in the business, right? If you've ever done any business, right? Man, even on the streets, man, when we was out there with that product, man, you know, we gotta, hey man, I'm gonna go get, so far, you know, I'm doing about a thing. I'm doing a thing a day, you know what I mean? And then as people begin to, hear about you and your name get out there, which is sometimes a very bad thing. But it's a good thing in the context of, growing the business, right? But when you go to the next level, you gotta redo some things, right? You may have to get some other people involved. You may have to get the product increased. You may have to change the product. These are things that are considered in business. You have to adjust. One of the problems with us in gang culture, and I'm centering the conversation on Crips and Bloods, but I'm talking in general about gang culture. One of the problems with us is we ain't came back to the table to adjust our business model. We got a whole big ass restaurant, right? Running with 3 forks and 3 spoons and 3 knives and 3 plates and 3 bowls and 3 cups, right? So you wonder why the people inside the restaurant are underserved, right? Why there's an imbalance, why there's no proficiency, why there's no growth, right? Is because the business needs to scale. There's some adjustments that need to be made so that the business can thrive. We haven't come back to the table and made any adjustments. As a whole, we haven't. Right? There's a lack of growth. And the initial concept was fearlessness. Right? Well, we done transcended fearlessness. Right? We done went way beyond the fearless point. We got to get back to the table is basically what the conversation I'm encouraging is that we get back to the table with the right people so that we cease and desist immediately with violence against each other because that purpose was already served. Right? As sets, ain't no punks up in here. As turfs, as hoods, ain't no punks up in here, right? Inside of your hood, you may have some punks. But your hood ain't a punk. You understand the difference? So that's business you got to handle inside your borders. Right? But outside in the larger community, right? Ain't no punks up in here, man. We should already understand that. You're not punking nobody. Right? You shouldn't even be trying to. And if you're trying to do something like that, you get what you got coming, man. Ain't no punks up in here, man. This is man time. We have to see the value of ourselves as the potential to secure our areas, to be security in our areas, to make our areas safe and decent, right? On agreements that we make with each other. Did you know that we could sit down at a table and make an agreement or have a conversation and make an agreement that makes it safe for everybody to thrive in with a word? We ain't got to go to the park and get down no more. Because now we know it ain't no punks up in here. Inside of your borders, you got to deal with your punks. Everybody got them inside their borders, but deal with them. You follow me? You follow me, y'all? Am I making sense? Talk to me. I'm shadow banned, so in YouTube, plenty of Facebookers are with me, but YouTube don't show them, and I'm battling YouTube right now before I leave and go to this next level with the podcast stuff. I'm a battle with YouTube a little bit, man, because you can talk to them indirectly and ask them why they're doing certain things. Like I'm hearing people ain't even receiving when I go live and stuff. They don't get the notification, and they have their notifications turned on. So I don't know. They back, I'm gonna talk real. I ain't gonna, and then I'm gonna do it. While I'm not gonna go into the mud. So there should be, some respite in that. You know what I mean? I'm not going into the mud. I can be. Listen, man. I can do the dirt and the mud. I know how to do that real good, real good. I don't want to do that. It ain't about the mud and the mess, man. It's about the cleanup crew. I'm part of the cleanup crew. Y'all going to make a mess, man, and the cleanup crew going to come behind y'all and get it right, right? I'm the cleanup crew. I'm in the cleanup crew. It's a cleanup crew out here, too. It's a crew. It's a crew. It's getting bigger, too. God forbid the cleanup crew gets some momentum. Move some of that dirt out the way, right? Got to put a clean glass in front of the dirty one our people are drinking from, y'all. What the hell is wrong with us, man? They want the filth. You ain't got to give it to them. Get your name out of that mud, man. The God is coming for retribution, man. You don't want to be on his list. You ain't, like I say, man, we cool, but we ain't seen killing yet. We have not seen killing yet. Hold on one second, y'all. That's my job. I gotta fix that door to down here, man. Anyway, it's the cleanup crew on the move. And I'm saying, God forbid we get the momentum to move some of that dirt out the way. We definitely intend to move it. And I definitely intend to fight the power that's saying it was for nothing. I don't believe that what I did I committed so much of my life to it, it can't be for naught. And I know what I extrapolated from gangbanging, man, my response times and all of them different types of things, man, those are important things. I think that's important. I could see that, the value of that in a real, like, war-like situation. I could see the value of that. I turn into something, right? And I'm not isolated. That's a level within gang culture that everybody turns into. In their respective areas, everybody who's on that level turns into that, right? So I don't see that as valueless. But remember the lesson of the dry bones in the valley, y'all. The winds, translation. Bones, translation. Right? Interpretation. Bones, winds. Standing up an exceedingly great army. Think about that, man. What if we all stood up on the same page to just be available for the defense of the black community, man? Wake up, black man. Snap out of it. You dreaming that this is about some petty ass difference that you got with another black man to the point you got to come across his borders and kill him. That's how you know we out our damn minds. That's how you know we dry bones in the valley. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that, y'all. We did that already. We don't need to perpetuate ignorance, man. You go through an ignorant stage to get intelligent. You don't remain ignorant. Rework your business model if it's producing ignorance. That's what you want. If the business model is producing ignorance, we got to come back to the table and adjust the business model. Because ignorance threatens to destroy the business. What kind of sense does that make? I can't see the sense in that. We know that we're doing something that's going to destroy the business, and we're perpetuating the activity that's going to destroy the business, calling ourselves advocates of the business while we do it. You can't be proud. How can I get that on there? I ain't got that right. You can't be proud and destructive at the same time. You can't. It's self-contradictory to be that. I love my family, but I'm raping my daughter. That's what you're saying. Is that sick? It's that sick, y'all. And you got to get to a resolution because you're running out of time. Right? Check out the video I dropped last night on Wisdom Wednesday. I put Brother Nuri on y'all. Mind Wars. Go check that out, y'all. Psyops. Opinion gangsters. Right? Go check out the video, y'all. I played a part of the video, but you can go on YouTube and get the whole video. What are you doing so like that's so pressing when you riding, right, and you bumping music that supports the idea of condemning the business? You should turn that off. The music talking about we finna roll over there, bust on them niggas. We got these triggers. We get so bigger, right? You doing that and you riding and you feeding your mind that, right? And then so it becomes, kind of cool to you, right? You okay with it. And don't you know, y'all know who Mao Zedong is, right? Chairman Mao. Y'all remember Chairman Mao of China, right? Chairman Mao changed the whole culture of China. He put a death sentence on inordinacy inside of the country of China. Like if you doing something inordinate, you out of like if you doing drugs and stuff like that, kill your ass. That'll stop them. We ain't got to keep talking about it. We just gonna start killing your ass, and that's gonna make you stop doing drugs or continue to be doing drugs because he had an opium crisis and epidemic in China. And his assessment with that, this is destroying, right, the fabric of the nation state of China. So we got to remove all of the drug sellers and all of the drug users. How are we going to do it? We ain't going to just come try to arrest everybody and play this game about we got you today and you get away tomorrow and you're back doing what you used to do. Do it. And we killing you. Right? All of the music became music that was an extension of the voice of Mao Zedong's sentiment, all of the art, right? All of the art, not just music, but all forms of art, theater, and all of that stuff was playing out to extend the voice of Mao Zedong and his sentiments, his leadership, all of it. So all you would hear was what Mao was talking about, because it was for the strength and the stabilization of China. China is side by side as a first world power right now. Was he wrong? Was Mao Zedong wrong? Some of his philosophies, right, may have been wrong. But ultimately, the work that he put in, right, to establish China, not a third world country no more, not a second world country no more, competing with all of the first world countries. America primarily. You can see it very flagrantly and blatantly with Donald Trump and Z. Right? You see it. That's a first world power confrontation. That ain't no you going over there and manhandling no third world. You're not. America is not going to manhandle China. But before Mao Zedong, America was already manhandling China. Was he wrong? Because the penalty for defiance was death. That death thing gets things moving. You know, people pop to attention when they know it's death. Yeah, they stand up, back straight, chest poked out, yes, sir, when you know it's about death. And I'm just asking, was he wrong? I ain't saying nothing else. Was he wrong? Inside of your borders, right? You got some things you got to work out, right? So that when you move, there's no conflict in the movement. How is this little 16-year-old, 15-year-old little dude right here, standing right here, going to a mall in a neutral area or something of that nature? I'm giving you a scenario. It's not actual. It's not literal, right? But it's just an analogy, something to make an observation on, right? How is this little 15-year-old dude going over here to this mall, right? Running into one of your 17 or 18-year-old little dudes, and they're getting into a conflict in a neutral zone, right? And then they're starting to shoot at each other and bringing you, the mature ones, into this battle. How does that happen? Can somebody, like, is that just a complete loss of control, or do we see that as a complete loss of control? Do we see that? So now they over there and it's hot now. The border is hot. They over across the border. They doing it. They putting it in. It's and y'all just reporting on it like, yeah, man, they over there. Damn. That's it. Nah, man, we got to come back to the table and have a business meeting. And you ain't like, it ain't no your business, because you're attached to a larger thing. So it's not just your business. It can't just be your business unless you have taken center stage and precedence over the larger community. Do y'all speak the language I'm talking? Anybody out there speak this language that I'm talking right now? Group A, right, is the first and larger group, right? So you don't become Group B inside of Group A. You know what you become? Group A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A500, A600, right? Because you're a part of Group A. As long as you're a part of Group A, there has to be accountability to A first. It does. What you can do, though, right, is disenfranchise. You can separate yourself from Group A and become Group B. See that? You become Group B. Here's the problem with that, though. When you do something, you have to come under the attack of everybody listed in Group A, all the way to Group A500. So now you over there on an island. You're on an island. You by yourself, man. You're not that strong. That's how you got into Group A in the first place in most cases. You wasn't strong enough to stand over here as Group B. We forget. You wasn't called part of Group A at first. You was called something else. But then when you joined on to Group A, you got stronger. We forgot. And just like you got that strength, when Group A realizes its potential and what its origins are and what it was initially intended for, right? You'll begin to understand the type of danger you could be in being separated from Group A, standing over there on an island by yourself. You think you can handle everybody in Group A? I don't care who you are, that would be suicide. You're going to get off a little bit, you're going to do a few things, but when the game plan come down on you, you out of here. I don't care who you are. It don't matter. It don't matter. Do I need to rerun that? I don't need to run that back, do I? Dry bones in the valley, being blown on by the winds. We got to get to the part where we stand up an exceedingly great army for the sole purpose of being defenders of our whole community. Our people are destroyed for a lack of vision. We suffer for a lack of vision, destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You don't know. You ain't looking at it like that. Instead of thrive to see things the way God see them, right? I don't be talking to God stuff, man. This ain't about God. This is group A, but Group A 500/B. No. Because you can't ascend in your thinking, right? We're gonna limit ourselves in our thinking to what you talking about. Man, sit the hell down with that bullshit, man. Sit down. Some damn where, man. Some of y'all talking need to shut the hell up and sit down, man. I gotta say it that way. Who gave you the right to talk for somebody? I don't be understanding that. Like when I hear some of these dudes talking, I'm like, who let him go talk and go out in the front and talk? Who said that was okay? Because that ain't Group A talk. That's some invention of like a Group B type talk. It ain't the same. It ain't the same, man. All my Group A'ers, man. Check this out, man. My Group A'ers, man. My brothers. It's time. We got to stop looking like we powerless in the face of somebody telling us what they going to do as a Group A member. We got to stop looking powerless in the face of that, man. Them used to be pull downs in conversations, man. I know we older, man. But we got some young homies, man, who really love us, man. Really care about what we think. Really listen to us, right? And young men are the front lines, the vanguard, right? Old men are the counselors, right? I know some brothers who in their 60s, mid to late 60s and early 70s, you still don't want to bother. You don't want to disturb their peace. That's still out there, right? That being said, man, the Superman was in the house, man. What y'all know about Johnny, man? Guitar, man. Johnny Guitar, man. But I'm gonna go get to what I gotta get to today, man. I want to do what I do a little earlier today, man, because it's starting to get dark late, and I gotta be outside for a minute. So I'm gonna get out of here. But I wanted to share that Thursday with you, man, to say, man, listen, man. Somebody gotta take charge. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna fall in anybody's lap. Right? No mystery God is going to float down out of a cloud and give anybody charge. Right? It didn't start that way and it won't end that way. It started with the most qualified person coming to the forefront and pushing for order. It's going to end with the most qualified people coming to the forefront and pushing order. It has to be pushed. It has to be pushed. It ain't gonna float out of the sky and fall in anybody's lap. It has to be pushed. The only way to push something, right, is for there to be a consequence attached to it. Don't nobody respond without consequences, man. One plus two equals 3. One, it ain't hard. This ain't complicated. It's not complicated. But fear, right, is the enemy of progress. Doubt is the enemy of progress. When you're looking at a thing and you know this is the case, this is what it is right here, right? And you ain't willing to do your part. Not all of it, just your part. Everybody got a part. When the dry bones stood up, they were an exceedingly great army. Armies have structure. Armies have discipline. Armies have protocol. Armies have directives and leadership and hierarchy and accountability. You can't just disappear from the army. They're going to say you're AWOL. You can't just get down on somebody in the army. They're going to say you went renegade. Then they're going to have a court, a session. And they're going to make a determination as to your actions, and they're going to punish you accordingly. An exceedingly great army. And you got to understand, we're talking about military operations now. For the embetterment of our people. For the protection and elevation of our people. Not to do nothing foolish. Because the armies are following direct instructions from intel. They not just running around getting down on people. That ain't how the army works. And guess what? Let me drop a little nugget on y'all before I get out of here, man. Did you know that exceedingly great army that came from dry bones was God's army? Mess you up with that, huh? Imagine going through all of this devastation, this hardship, this trial, this destitution, hopelessness, right? To get to a point that you stand up and become the army of God. Man, talk to me. You mean I went through all of this to become a soldier in God's military? Yeah. You did it for him. It was marvelous in his sight. Don't go. Don't leave. Don't leave. Leaving too soon. It's still working here for you to do. Don't leave. Come back and begin where you are in your development, your understanding, right? And your ability. Each one teach one, y'all. It's your brother Free. I'm about to get out of here, man. Y'all continue to have a blessed one, man. It's great to be able to spend time with y'all. Remember to keep your head on that swivel, and the mission at this point is to just get the violence down. We got a lot of work to do, but let's work on the violence first, right? We got to get the pain down first before we can get to the problem. Getting the pain down is stopping the violence, y'all, against each other. All right? Peace.
Lover, yeah. Call me that Superman lover, yeah. But something wrong. There's something wrong with me, it says. Yes, it is. Look up in the sky. Come on, look. And you'll see me flying by. Why don't you just look? And if you do, come on and look. I'm flying straight to you. They call me Superman lover. Say they call me the Superman lover. Yeah. But something wrong. Something is wrong with me to see now. There's something wrong with me, yes it is. Oh. Right on with the rat on here.